Hello, everyone, and welcome to our new podcast called The Crow Diaries. My son says, you say it. My name's Christopher Lash, and I live in Warsaw with my son, who's called, I'm supposed to say it, Edjo Lash. Edward Lash. Edjo speaks English and Polish, and he's going to say something in a second. So, Edjo, we're going to talk to the listeners about crows, right?
What they like to eat?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can talk about lots of different things. Crows can be found in all over the world, in almost every continent, apart from South America. And we have our crows here. What kind of crows do we have in Warsaw, Edek?
Uh,
What are the specific crows that we like the most?
Hooded crows.
Yes, and we're going to talk more about them. And we're going to talk about a family of hooded crows that live near us, and we'll tell you much more about that. But there are loads of different kinds of crows family here. Yes, and we will talk about what they're like in a second. We'll talk about there's magpies, there's ravens, there's rooks in Poland, there's jays. There's loads of different ones in Poland
Dog.
and jackdaws as well. And we like all of them, right, Edek? What do you want to talk about? What hooded crows? Hooded crows are very common in Central and Eastern Europe. And what do they eat, Edek? Tell the listeners.
Dog food.
Dog food, yes. Well, we're feeding them dog food,
Some dry dog food.
which we're throwing, but we'll talk about that more in a minute. What other things do they like to eat? Just normal things that they eat normally. Worms, right? Monkey nuts, that's what we feed them, but other stuff that they eat in the wild. Worms,
Maybe some snails.
some snails, probably. I don't know. We don't actually know. Insects, um, other bird eggs as well. That's why sometimes crows are not that popular among some people who like birds because they think, oh, it's bad that they eat bird eggs. But you know what? Bigger birds like hawks and stuff, predators, they like crows.
What?
Yeah, but rooks don't eat crow eggs, but hawks and stuff. Hawks, for example, do.
I think so. There might be two albatrosses like.
I'm not sure, but really the predators, so we're talking about hawks and stuff, they will eat crow eggs as well. So it's just part of the circle of life. Anyway, so Ed's already told you a little bit about it, but we decided recently that we would make friends with some crows that live nearby. And so we looked out of our window and what did we see?
Some crows.
But what did we see in the trees?
A nest of crows.
Yes, because in spring, what happens?
They
Have
doing nests.
They have nests in order to make what?
Eggs.
Lay eggs, yes, and new baby and have babies, right?
Yeah.
It comes out exactly. And so we saw that happening, and then we thought it's really interesting, and we think there are eggs in there now, right? Well, not eggs. We think they've broken out of the eggs and they're waiting to come out, and we can't wait till they come out, right? Yes, Edek's nodding his head. Okay. And what do we call the different crows in the family that we found nearby?
One is gapcho.
And what does gapcho mean in English? What does it mean in English? How would you translate it?
A
A bit silly, right?
bit, not clever.
Not that clever. We do think it's a bit of a joke, but he's fine. We think Gapcho, how old do you think we think Gapcho is?
Something like 5.
No.
No.
He's joking. How old do we think it is?
1.
We think it's 1. We think that it's the son or daughter, probably son, but we don't know, of the crow pair that lives around here in our trees near our flat. And Gapcho's the little one. We think he's 1 year old. Why do we think he's 1 year old? Why do we think he's little?
He can't open anything.
Yeah. So what we've been doing is we have a little supermarket underneath us, and we've been throwing, I've been throwing, Edek not because it'd be a bit dangerous if he did it. We've been throwing monkey nuts.
Yes.
And
one-time dog food.
And one-time dog food. We're going to throw some kibble, so dry dog food, onto the roof. And we've been watching the behavior of the crows, right? Not just on the roof trying to eat it, but also in the trees around. And Gapcho, when we throw a monkey nut down, what does Gapcho do?
and just put it in the bag and drops it.
Yes, very, very often. He doesn't really.
Open
He's
it.
not able to open it properly. And often he goes up to we think his dad, and his dad's called, what do we call his dad?
Crows.
Actually, we can hear the crows now outside the window. We're not going to feed them anything now after the end of the podcast. Croash's dad, which is like crow with like a Polish sort of name at the end, a bit like Edward Edger. And Croash, when we throw nuts onto the roof, what does Croash do normally?
Opening the monkey nut.
He opens them with his
Beak.
yeah, and sometimes he flies and he flies and he picks them up, right? And what did we just see a minute ago, Edek? What did we see a minute ago?
The crows pick up two monkey nuts and he go to the nest.
We think he went to the nest, so he picked up two big nuts in his mouth and then he flew off. And we think that's a good sign, which means that probably the babies are in the nest and he's probably going back to feed them. But often Croash opens the nuts, doesn't he, very well himself. We haven't seen the mummy. What's the mummy called, Edek? What do we call her Veronica because Vrona is crow in English. Let's speak in English. Veronica in Polish is Vrona is crow, right?
Yes.
And it's a little bit like the name.
Crows.
No, Veronica. Veronica is also a name, Veronica in English, Veronica. And so we call her Veronica. And we've hardly ever seen her. I think we normally, because I don't think she's probably near the nest or feeding the babies.
You see her in the nest.
Yes. And one time I saw her getting very angry at Gapcho because Gapcho kept asking for food. Gapcho also asks for food, doesn't he, to Crowash a lot. And also the other crow that we'll talk about in a second. Anyway, so we don't see Veronica very much, which is good because it's breeding season, nesting season. And the fourth crow that we see, we call him
Captain.
Why do we call him Captain, Medek?
But he don't
Because
have leg.
He doesn't have one
Foot.
He doesn't have one foot. So we call him Captain like he's a pirate. Anyway, he is very interesting. He's only got 1 foot, but he seems to do pretty well.
Some dog food.
We'll tell him dog food, but when we throw nuts, he also able to open them with his beak, right?
Like crows.
Right. And the other day, I threw some hard dog food onto the little, and Crowish and Gapcho, what did they do?
Nothing they did.
They didn't do anything. They didn't eat anything. And I was like, why are they not doing? Actually, they did do something. Crowish picked up one of the dog food and tried to dip it into the water. And that's one of the things that they do. They often try to make hard, dry food wet, right?
Yes.
So that they can either eat it or take it back to the
nest.
Exactly. And so Crowish and Gapcho were just sort of looking over the thing and not doing very much. And then who came in?
Captain.
Captain came in, and what did he do?
Eat nearly all of the dog food.
Yes, he just came in. He had one bit of dog food. He had about 15 bits or 20 bits of dog food. And then he flew off. And then who came after Captain to finish off the rest of the dog food?
Pigeons.
Yes, some pigeons. We're not like massive fans of pigeons here, but at the same time, fair play. They wanted to have some food and they got it. So that's our family. We have Crowish and Veronica with a pair. We have Gapcho, who doesn't seem to understand how to eat nuts properly and open them, and who begs for food from Captain and from the others. And we have Captain, who seems to be he's 1 foot, but he seems to be doing pretty well. Anyway, we from now on we're going to come back and tell you more about our crow family and what we've seen in the last week, because it really is interesting watching them, right? We watch them. How do we watch them, Edek? We watch them with our eyes and also with
binoculars.
With binoculars, right? Yeah, and every time we see the crows go on the roof, what does Daddy do?
Putting the monkey nuts.
He goes and throws monkey nuts.
To see who it is.
Yes, exactly. And I also watch who it is. And just to say, you guys, I've read a lot about this online, and you're not supposed to feed them too much, and we don't feed them that much. Just maybe 7 or 8 monkey nuts a day sometimes, and maybe a bit of dog food, because we don't want them to be dependent on us. We want them to be able to eat food other places, right?
Yeah, but now taking them to the nest.
Exactly. So it's not a bad thing that we give them a bit of food. I know some people, there's this ethical dilemma whether it's good to give, but I think that really it's not that much. And I've read different things online and listened to things online, and ornithologists, so people who deal with study birds, they said it's okay to feed them a little bit. Anyway, guys, it's been really good to talk to you. We hope you will join us for the next episode where we'll tell you a little bit more of what we've seen. And so it's goodbye from Daddy, Christopher
And
Lash, and goodbye from
Edward Lash.
Edward Lash, and we'll see you soon. Bye bye. Thanks for listening.